Most people start drawing because it feels good. It's fun. It really is. It's relaxing. It's creative. You set your goals. You get to play with shapes and ideas, and you don't have any pressure. But then you go to YouTube and you find these experts all over the internet from the best in the world: Pixar, Disney, Ubisoft, you name it. Doesn't really matter who it is. Your hobby slowly mutates into this grinding drill. You're grinding 2 hours a day suddenly. You're trying to memorize the entire technical detail of something. You're obsessing over the latest tools and you're switching between more brushes than you can count. Why? Nobody really tells you how dangerous that is for someone who doesn't actually want to become a professional artist. Don't get me wrong, okay? Professional art and professional advice can and will help you, but it can also absolutely ruin your hobby if you let it. Now, I get it. The irony is not lost on me that this advice comes from a professional artist in the game industry that also has a learning platform. Yes, I get it. But here's the thing. Professional artists train to produce predictable, repeatable results under pressure. I've talked about this. So, having been a professional character concept artist myself, I can tell you that out of the more than 1,000 characters I ever designed for clients, I only enjoyed drawing 10% of them, honestly. And that's not to say that I didn't enjoy my job. It's quite the opposite, actually. But my fulfillment really came from the projects I was contributing to because I was a professional artist. I got to work in very creative teams and I got to make my contribution. But professional artists, their entire workflow is designed around meeting deadlines, having consistency, being efficient, being part of a pipeline, being part of a team. We specialize heavily. Often we use complex tools, complex workflows. We repeat the same technical task over and over and over because that's basically what the job demands and requires. And believe me, you can't draw 8 characters in a day if you don't have something like this, okay? And yes, I had to do that for a client once. I had to create 8 characters in one day. That's not fun. So if your goal is to enjoy drawing, what I'm doing now, as a teacher, that's what I enjoy, then this kind of professional training might actually pull the joy out of the entire process. It might stop you from, playing, and it will suddenly become about performance. And when you start comparing your performance to professional artists, that's not great. That would be the same. This is the thing. That would be the same as me comparing the success of my current CrossFit training to Rich Froning, a 4 times CrossFit world champion. That's just simply insane. It's a recipe for disappointment. And I feel here again that physical training is a great analogy to what I'm trying to say, because I actually used to follow an elite training program and I got better, don't get me wrong, but I also I wrecked my body because I couldn't become a professional. I was still having a normal day job. I was having a regular day job and I had a normal life. So I wasn't training to be a professional, but I was doing professional training. And I thoroughly enjoy training now. I only train 4 times a week, which still seems like a lot, but it's not really. And the funny part is that I'm still improving daily now. And I'm often outperforming many young people that, are trying to do professional training, and they're training 8, 9, 10 times a week. And it's simply because now I have sort of this pace. I found my own pace. I shifted my mindset to focus and enjoy the process. And so if you try to adopt a professional learning regimen, then instead of experimenting, you start to judge yourself before you even start drawing. And that's not super healthy. You become afraid of making mistakes, or afraid of ruining a sketch that you were doing or something that was going well, or just a sketch that you were enjoying. So you're afraid that it's not professional enough. And that fear is exactly what makes drawing feel heavy. And it's the opposite of why you started to draw. So I think what you want is you want to shift that mindset. Grind if you want to. Grind if it feels good, right? Grind if it helps you progress. But don't grind like someone whose career depends on it, because yours doesn't. It's your hobby, right? And that changes everything, I feel. A big reason hobbyists lose their joy is because, especially now with social media and YouTube learning, they start copying the behavior and tools of professionals without copying their goals. Pros need to be adaptable, especially in today's climate. They need all the tools and they need all the workflows, but you don't need any of that. If you want to draw a beautiful bird or a face or a character, you want to make your own character, and you don't need any of that. In fact, the more tools you load onto yourself, the more friction you create. And again, friction kills the momentum and joy of drawing. So having like a simple sketchbook or a tablet with one canvas open and one layer and just one pen can take you much further than having this fully loaded setup of Photoshop and Blender and 3D Code and all of that because the pros are doing it, right? It will deter from it. And I think like simplifying your practice routine reduces a lot of anxiety as well. And anxiety, again, kills creativity because it creates complexity. A relaxed mind will often be more open to play. And if you're more open to play, you're more creative by default. And again, another reason pro-style training kills sort of the hobby is this obsession with accuracy or results. Everything becomes about doing it the correct way or the professional way. And there's a place for that for professional artists. But when it comes to correctness, like that shouldn't support your goals. Remember that as a hobbyist, you aren't being evaluated by an art director. You don't need to match a production pipeline. You don't need to specialize. You can, but you don't need to. So you really don't need to sacrifice the fun for accuracy. And ironically, when you stop trying to be perfect, then you often start to improve faster. I've seen this. Like this is exactly why I reference artists like Kim Young-gi a lot. Yes, technically he was a professional artist, but to me, he was just the best paid hobbyist in the world. So you should set goals that fit your life, the life you actually live. You don't need professional goals unless you want to lead a professional lifestyle, and that's a completely different lifestyle. So small goals can be still super powerful. Draw a few times a week, fill a sketchbook, right? Complete 1 or 2 lessons on Artwod, finish one piece per weekend. That's up to you. These goals should support like your well-being and not drain it. I said this before, but a positive mindset like really helps build skills much faster than criticism ever will. And your brain is wired to reinforce whatever mindset you start your day with. So if you begin a drawing expecting it to fail because you're comparing yourself to professionals, yes, your brain will find evidence that it is failing. If you begin expecting to learn something or enjoy it, your brain will highlight that part and it will support that positive belief. So your mindset becomes part of your technique. And you also don't need a giant curriculum or all of the fundamentals at once. Instead, sprinkle them naturally into your art journey. It's like literally the main reason we got rid of courses and we're creating learning paths that just offer bite-sized learning with lots of room for practice so people can do it in their own time. And as often as you can, draw what you actually care about. Fan art, creatures, mechs, stylized faces, comics, whatever silly idea you have, anything that keeps you motivated to do what you do, to do what you love doing. Professionals don't get this freedom, okay? You do. That's the beauty of being an artist. That's the beauty of being a hobbyist. And that's not to say you should only draw what you want because that might stall your progress. And I've talked about this a little bit, but the subjects that you enjoy, the reason why you're drawing should be the reason you start practicing. Keep that motivation in the back of your mind because you want to reach a certain thing like cool characters or whatever. That's the reason you practice. So in the end, you don't need to practice or train like a pro to get good. You need to train like someone who genuinely loves drawing. Even like both me and Axel, our head of programming, we enjoy drawing 10 times more now than we did when we were working professionally. And ironically, especially for Axel, I can attest to this, right? We make more progress now than when we were under constant pressure to perform. So progress comes from consistency, not only consistency, but definitely not pressure. And confidence also comes from play, not striving for perfection. So your hobby should make your life better. It should make your life heavier. So keep it simple, keep it playful, keep it exciting. And keep drawing for the same reason that you wanted to get into drawing in the first place. Because it's damn fun. That's it. All right? As always, happy learning, happy drawing, and I'll see you in the next one.